Entertainment tonight
at 10:30.
This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. What could signal a breakthrough tonight in Poland, a country torn by strikes and dissension over living standards? Solidarity leader Lech Wałęsa is going to Warsaw for his first talks with the communist government in 6 years tomorrow, the anniversary of his union's creation. Correspondent Bert Quint reports from Poland.
The offer to meet with Wałęsa was a gesture of desperation by a communist regime that once had imprisoned the Solidarity leader and vowed never to deal with him again. The meeting is intended to pave the way for an end to the strikes that have plagued this country for more than 2 weeks. A church official will take part in the talks and attempt to overcome a towering barrier of mutual distrust. It was just 8 years ago tomorrow that Solidarity was born and challenged the Communist Party's monopoly of power. The man who smashed Solidarity in 1981 is still in charge and opposes the one thing Wałęsa wants most, a return to legality for his outlawed union. Many of the strikers are young and say they have nothing to lose. More than half the youths questioned in a nationwide poll see no future here. Many are leaving. College graduates finding that menial work in the West is better than life at home. Those who stay, like Ivona and Dariusz, have little to look forward to. 60% inflation means a honeymoon is impossible. They're living with her parents because housing is so scarce it takes 10 to 50 years to get an apartment. The lucky ones, with places of their own, had their rents doubled this year. The price of food and consumer goods has tripled. Chronic shortages force people to form lines for meat at 3 a.m., and even then it's not usually available. These problems sparked the strike and forced the regime to admit its ill-advised economic reform program was to blame. But tomorrow's meeting is not likely to bring any quick fix for the woes that took these young workers to the barricades. It could, however, give this troubled nation a breathing spell and the first real hope in years that, just maybe, the slide to despair can be stopped. Bert Quint, CBS News, Warsaw.
In this country, the chief aides to George Bush and Michael Dukakis met face-to-face today in Washington. Dukakis wants debates. The sooner the better, and he wants several of them. Bush believes he is leading the race now, and partly because of that, wants to delay and hints that he may want no more than one debate, if any. Phil Jones covered the debate meeting.
After 2 hours of tough negotiations today, representatives from the Bush and Dukakis camps broke up in disagreement.
We want more debates. They want fewer. We want to start them earlier. They want to start them later.
Dukakis wants at least 3 debates starting September 14th, but Vice President Bush will agree to only 2 anytime after September 22nd.
The Vice President is going to debate, looks forward to debating, but there are other ways to campaign. Debates have a way of freezing the campaign.
Vice President Bush is clearly in no rush to debate.
We might meet somebody halfway, but I'm not about to be stampeded.
Dukakis wants the debates to begin before the nation is distracted by Olympic Games and the World Series, with a final debate close to Election Day, a request that has been rejected.
The Bush campaign was concerned that if the last debate was too close to the election, they wouldn't have time to recover from a potential disastrous mistake at that debate.
Based on the past, Republicans have every reason to fear debates. They remember Nixon's poor performance.
I think many of our people will understand better.
Also, President Ford's damaging foreign policy gaffe when he declared Poland free.
Tonight our debate is on legalizing marijuana.
With experience as former moderator of a public television debate broadcast, expectations for Dukakis will also be high. But as a challenger, he has the most to gain.
Dukakis knows very well that he's going to win if he, almost under any circumstance, by the very fact he's going to get the kind of exposure that is necessary to establish his credentials as a meaningful challenger.
Dukakis needs the televised debates, and Bush, as much as he might like to, can't duck them. So it's just a matter of how many and when. Negotiations resume on Thursday. Phil Jones, CBS News, Washington.
The candidates themselves squared off today at long distance. Dukakis began trying to answer the so far unanswered negative campaign attacks that apparently have contributed to his plunge in the polls. The Bush campaign continued hammering him on questions of patriotism and defense. We have 2 reports. First, Bruce Morton with Dukakis in Massachusetts.
Michael Dukakis went after George Bush today.
Making tough decisions is a test of leadership. George Bush endorsed the decision to sell arms to Iran, and in doing so, he failed that test.
Dukakis was talking about a new book by Maine Senators William Cohen, Republican, and George Mitchell, Democrat, both of whom were on the Iran-Contra Investigating Committee. They conclude Bush did endorse the sale of arms to Iran. What about Bush's attacks on Dukakis as weak on foreign policy? Bush, Dukakis said, helped funnel aid to the Contras through drug dealers, dealt with a drug-running dictator in Panama, and hailed former Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos's commitment to democracy.
He's talking about judgment, about negotiation, about taking risks.
Dukakis staffers say yes, the candidate has shifted to a more aggressive campaign, but they insist it's not negative because they say it's on the record and about the record, not based on rumors or distortions.
Fantastic stuff. You all going to get a chance to eat?
Campaigning through western Massachusetts, Dukakis stressed his themes of economic management, but aimed zingers at Bush, too.
Mr. Bush has said that our trade relationship with Japan is, in his words, superb. And it is for Japan. But I'm not running for president to create jobs in Japan.
And he noted the Bush camp's retreat from Bush's promise of 30 million jobs in 8 years, saying the country needs
a new president who can talk about creating new jobs without having his advisors contradict him the following day.
Dukakis stuck to his basic themes, I can manage the future better, but the new attacking style looks as if it's here to stay. The pace has picked up these past 2 days. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Amherst, Massachusetts.
The pom-poms swirled, the North Carolina raisins strutted, and Bush delivered the message every crowd loves, a promise of continued peace and prosperity and no new taxes.
And the bottom line is jobs. And when it comes to jobs, the other side talks about it, and we deliver. 17.5 million new jobs in the last 60, 70 months.
In states like North Carolina, where much of the economy leans on the defense industry, Bush ties his jobs message to a strong defense. So at a nearby defense plant where he saw the kind of fuel control system used on his World War II bomber, Bush gave his defense message the local angle.
We better keep the United States of America strong. We better be on the cutting edge of airplane fuel technology or whatever it is, because only a strong America can enhance the peace. Only a strong America can reach decent arms control agreements with the Soviet Union.
This swing through North Carolina winds up more than a week during which the vice president's trying to put the emphasis on defense issues. Tomorrow he switches to the environment. His message on defense has been simple and two-sided. He's argued the Republicans have built up the nation's defenses, and he's trying to raise questions about whether Democrats would make the same commitment. Bob Schieffer, CBS News, with the Vice President in North Carolina.
The Reagan administration today trumpeted claims of unprecedented success in the international war on drugs. It claimed that during August, 30 countries, including Panama, rang up impressive statistics in a battle that's important in the minds of election year voters. Juan Vasquez in Colombia begins our coverage.
The Colombian government says it is fighting drugs as never before. The results include the destruction of hundreds of cocaine laboratories hidden deep in the jungle, 17 tons of cocaine seized and burned. At least 50 clandestine airstrips have been destroyed. On paper, it's a successful campaign.
The Colombian government, in spite of the losses, in spite of the intimidation, has been very effective.
Juan claimed some success of his own today in a first-ever international effort to combat drugs. His numbers, too, sounded impressive. More than 1,200 arrests worldwide, more than 10 tons of cocaine confiscated in the last 30 days. But some say these numbers don't tell the real story.
You may have 5,000 pounds of cocaine, and it certainly looks nice on the nightly news, but unless you catch the people who are supplying it, I'm not sure that you've done anything to alleviate the problem.
But even arrests may not help. Roberto Suarez, the so-called king of cocaine, is now in jail in Bolivia. But in an exclusive interview with CBS News, he said the coke business is better than ever. One plane leaves every day, he said, sometimes 4 or 5. Business is so good, mobsters are killing each other to increase their share. In a string of bombings and shootings, rival gangs from the Colombian cities of Medellin and Cali have killed hundreds in the last year. They have even started to turn in each other's shipments. One of the largest seizures ever, nearly 4 tons of cocaine discovered in Florida recently, was the result of a tip from a rival dealer. But all of this is of little comfort to some U.S. officials.
When you have two sides fighting, one is always going to come out a victor, and all you are doing is making one side wealthier and more powerful.
And there's even worse news. For the first time, Colombian authorities have discovered fields planted with opium poppies, the source of heroin, a sign that drug lords who brought America cocaine have bigger things in mind. Juan Vasquez, CBS News, Bogota.
With the polls showing that voters rank drugs as the country's #1 problem, ahead of both nuclear war and the deficit, it's no surprise that the war on drugs has become campaign fodder for both sides.
We're going to get serious about war against drugs in this country. We need a drug czar appointed by the president with cabinet rank.
For those who commit drug-related murders, for the drug pins who are poisoning our kids, the penalty ought to be death.
Both parties certainly get into this feeding frenzy. Let's do something about drugs. Let's put together in 2 days a drug package that will make the American people think we're doing something about drugs.
The Bush battle plan calls for tougher law enforcement, and Republican strategists have used the drug issue to attack Dukakis as a soft-on-crime liberal.
For he is the governor who vetoed the mandatory sentencing for drug dealers. He opposed capital punishment for drug kingpins.
Dukakis stresses education and prevention and cites Bush's role as head of the administration's anti-drug task force to challenge his opponent on the experience factor.
Now, the vice president says that if elected, he's going to put his vice president in charge of the war against drugs. President Reagan tried it, and it didn't work.
To many drug counselors, the election year drug fest is all image and no substance.
We've been down that route before, and our politicians have jumped up and said they want to do something about it, but they really haven't.
Even so, campaign advisors say the drug problem will stay on the front burner. As one Democrat put it, the candidates don't have a solution, but by looking for one, they hope to find votes. Deborah Potter, CBS News, Washington.
And still ahead on the CBS Evening News, Mark Phillips with a follow-up on the big air show disaster. Peter Van Sant on more trouble for a troubled airline. And Jerry Bowen on the ball that just might put an end to all those tennis arguments.
Maybe you thought the Romans didn't eat lunch. They did. Good lunch. Healthy, with fresh baked breads made from whole grain wheat and rye. Good then, good now. In today's Roman meal, great taste, natural whole grain goodness. Make one meal a day a Roman meal.
For Post Natural Bran Flakes, Rue McClanahan on getting the best out of life.
Because last night I was so bad. I'm making sure I have a good morning.
Reach for the best-tasting high-fiber Bran Flake. Post Bran Flakes at their best.
Nothing should come between you and your pet, except the Hearts 2-in-1 collar. The collar that kills fleas and ticks for 5 months. Keeps them off your pet and out of your home. Go ahead, hug, snuggle, tickle him. The Hearts 2-in-1 collar lets you get close to your pet without getting close to fleas and ticks. If you want to hug a happier pet and have peace of mind, get the Hearts 2-in-1 collar.
Excuse me. No problem. We know about kaopectate too.
Kaopectate actually absorbs the germs that can cause diarrhea.
Kaopectate bags. The diarrhea specialist.
More victims of the air show disaster in West Germany died today of their burns and injuries. The death toll has now reached 49, and U.S. officials said today that figure includes 6 Americans at a minimum. There are reports at least 3 injured children may have been orphaned. Mark Phillips is there.
3 American servicemen and 1 Italian civilian injured in Sunday's airshow crash were carefully carried onto a U.S. transport plane today to be flown to the Air Force Burn Center in San Antonio, Texas. About 350 other people remain hospitalized here, including 38 Americans.
They are severely injured, not only due to the burnings, but also due to some fractures and other injuries.
The death toll continues to rise, but West German officials said today they had so far managed to identify only a few of the bodies. Relatives of those listed as missing gathered at the gates of Ramstein Air Base today, seeking but not getting information. 2 days after the air crash, the toll of dead and injured is still unclear, as are the identities of many of the victims. In a temporary morgue set up by the U.S. Air Force here, there are 31 bodies, none of them identified. The Air Force is using forensic science and detective work to try to find out who the dead are.
They've looked for vehicles that were left behind and are trying to chase, perhaps through license plates, who belonged to that. They're going by lists of people who've been reported as missing.
In the northern Italian town of Rivolto this afternoon, the surviving members of the Tricolor Arrow flying team arrived home. Coffins containing the bodies of the 3 pilots who collided at the air show were carried to the town church. The pilots said they still did not know exactly how the crash happened, and that out of respect for their dead colleagues, they would not be going to an air show in Switzerland this coming weekend. In West Germany, a memorial service for the victims has been delayed until Saturday in the hope that more of the dead can be identified. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Ramstein Air Base.
England's famous Farnborough Air Show is going ahead as scheduled next weekend, and 2 of its main attractions flew in today. Escorted by British warplanes, 2 state-of-the-art, top-of-the-line Soviet MiG-29 fighters landed to make their first appearance in a NATO country. The Soviets apparently hoped to drum up interest in the plane from foreign buyers. About 1,000 South African troops crossed onto a pontoon bridge into Namibia today to complete their withdrawal from Angola under terms of this month's regional peace accord. South Africa says its troops will start pulling out of Namibia November 1. A timetable for Namibian independence and Cuban withdrawal from Angola has yet to be decided. Riot police used tear gas to disperse protesters in Chile today. Military commanders tonight nominated President Augusto Pinochet as the lone candidate in the October referendum. If Pinochet wins a majority, he will rule until 1997. If most voters reject him, he'll remain president until supposedly open elections are held 2 years from now.
Tonight, Dad raised the son's fridge. He practically lived in mine. I'd always tell him, stay away from the big 3, salt, fat, calories, and watch the cholesterol. That's what Doc always told me. Looks like he did listen.
Fleischmann's Light, 25% less salt, fat, and calories than regular margarine, and no cholesterol.
Watching out for the big 3, Dad? Yeah, I listened. Most of the time.
Fleischmann's Light.
This house is just lovely, but to the Stevens, it's so much more. They planned the future next to that fireplace, celebrated holidays full of laughter in this dining room, and whispered countless bedtime stories right here. This is where their heart is. This is their home. That's why only one paint was ever good enough. Benjamin Moore. They wouldn't settle for anything less. Would you?
When something means so much, see your Benjamin Moore dealer.
When you buy Corning prescription lenses that change, it's like getting free light tints, free medium tints, dark tints, and a range of free sunglasses all in one. Corning lenses that change, the only eyeglasses you'll ever need.
If you're like me, you want your engine to perform. That's why you and I both need Quaker State with QSX. No other oil runs cleaner or fights slugs better. And it's the same Quaker State you buy right off the shelf.
The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
NASA today released an ambitious new schedule of 50 shuttle flights over the next 5 years. The projected resumption of the shuttle program begins with a Discovery launch late next month, hopefully followed by one more flight this year. The government today said its chief barometer of future economic activity took its biggest plunge in 8 months during July, but analysts cautioned against attaching too much importance to the 0.8% drop in the index of leading indicators. A federal judge today told Eastern Airlines, quote, massive layoffs are not and never shall be business as usual, unquote. That was part of a decision that cheered workers and worried some industry observers. Peter Van Sant tells us about it.
Eastern Airlines, plagued by debt, special safety inspections, and labor problems, got some more bad news today when a federal judge blocked the airline's plan to lay off 4,000 workers next month, saying the airline would have to negotiate the cuts with its unions.
I'm happy I don't get laid off. Saves my job.
Great. Looks like we might win this one.
Of course, are very, very pleased with this order. It's going to save 4,000 jobs. And so they've got to bargain with us about this now, and they've been ordered to do that with the federal court.
But while employees are cheering, analysts say the decision threatens Eastern's already precarious financial future.
We keep saying it's another nail, but it does take an awful lot of nails to put the top on the coffin.
In an effort to cut its losses, which approach $1 million a day, Eastern last month announced it was shutting down its Kansas City hub, cutting service to 14 cities, and laying off 4,000 employees. Today's ruling means the cuts will still go into effect, but the employees will stay, leaving Eastern to pay 4,000 workers who won't have anything to do.
It's going to cost them an estimated $7 to $11 million a month in additional wages unless they can get it reversed. In Eastern's case, any loss is serious. Any cash outflow is very serious for a company in their position.
Eastern officials will appeal the court decision, calling it gravely wrong. But Eastern's problems go far beyond today's rulings. Negotiations with the machinists union are going nowhere, and many analysts predict a major strike at Eastern by the end of the year. Peter Van Sant, CBS News, Atlanta.
Continued warming of the Earth, quote, appears to be inevitable, even if there are sharp cutbacks now in the use of chemicals blamed for the so-called warming greenhouse effect. That's the word from a group of scientific researchers writing in the Journal of Geophysical Research Atmospheres. Meanwhile, a government agency reported today that global concentrations of carbon dioxide have jumped 25% since the middle of the 1800s, although there was little of any change in those concentrations for many centuries before that time. The exile's Ferdinand Marcos turns 71 next month, and Marcos's friends bought him a birthday present for drives around his Hawaii home. It's a bulletproof, armor-plated automobile loaded with accessories. Sources say it has rear lights that can blind following cars and an extra fuel tank that can trail oil and cause pursuers to slip off the road. Reported price tag, $150,000. Jesse Jackson came to Wall Street today and was met with a chorus of boos. The former Democratic presidential contender opened the New York Stock Exchange session with the traditional ringing of the bell. Jackson shrugged off the boos, saying there also were cheers and called it all part of the American tradition. But some floor traders said they were taken aback by the signs of hostility, noting VIP visitors are usually ignored or politely applauded.
We interrupt this purchase for a reminder.
I've got to have it.
There's still one more place to comparison shop.
I don't know where to start.
Here, by choosing the card that actually pays you cash. Cash back for every charge. The Discover card.
Mom!
That's the one.
It's perfect.
It pays to Discover, the card that pays you back.
The making of freeze-dried Taster's Choice coffee. Search the world for the finest coffee beans. Grind them. And at the peak of freshness, brew the richest, most aromatic coffee you can brew. Then freeze it. Freeze-drying locks in the fresh brewed aroma and flavor until you release it. For a truly superior cup of coffee, the choice for taste is Taster's Choice.
Taste it.
If you could taste tradition, this is what it would taste like. Smucker's Low Sugar Spreads. Half the sugar, half the calories, all the goodness.
Post makes the only bran flakes with zip-pack freshness to keep their high-fiber, best taste fresh longer. I zip what I should have do now. Post natural bran flakes with zip-pack freshness. Zippity-yay.
In tennis, arguments over what's out or in have nothing to do with trends. They are part of the sport, shared by the great names battling it out today at the U.S. Open here in New York and the sorriest beginners at any court in the country. Now comes a device to settle those debates, and as you might expect, it's already started a debate. Jerry Bowen reports.
Like soldiers gearing up for war, the line judges at the U.S. Open warily checked their court assignments this week and braced for the inevitable.
Couldn't you see anything? That cost me the damn set!
But someday soon, that may change.
If the ball drops down...
71-year-old inventor John Van Auken believes he's on the verge of eliminating much of the human factor.
Keep your eye on the ball. Don't watch anything. Don't watch the line, because there's never a doubt with AccuCall. Just keep your eye on the ball. Hit it.
Van Auken spent 14 years and $3 million developing AccuCall, a system of sensing circuits placed on the net and along all the court lines. It features colored lights or an electronic voice to signal in or out. But the key is a special tennis ball, one manufactured with stainless steel fibers spun into the felt cover. It looks like any other ball bouncing off the assembly line and performs the same too. But this one completes an electrical circuit when it hits, sensing what the human eye can't possibly see.
Thousandths of an inch accuracy on every line and the top of the net.
A few of the pros have tried it and found it takes some getting used to.
It's all electronic. There's only a chair umpire, no linesman.
The system still requires an umpire to keep track of the match, and there are glitches to work out.
Aha! The system
There it is.
was
the first.
caught out of whack.
The racket set the buzzer off.
That's a good trick, though. I like that.
John McEnroe, a line judge's living nightmare, seemed lost without his old nemesis. Already, there's debate about the wisdom of eliminating the human factor, even though tournaments could save $30,000 a week.
Been like this for, 100-something years. I don't see why it should change,
I commend the person that tried to get it together. He said that it's taken 14 years, and God bless him for trying.
And the chief umpire at the U.S. Open likes the idea, too.
If we can put a man on the moon, we can surely, call lines.
And surely the sport will become genteel again. But somehow, the thrill just won't be there. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And that's the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather. See you tomorrow. Good night.
I've heard some people say that all pain relievers are the same. Well, that's just not true. In the hospital after a boating accident, my doctor set me straight. He gave me Tylenol. It stopped the pain without irritating my stomach like aspirin or even ibuprofen can. With so many pain relievers today, some people might have trouble deciding. But I know what to trust. Tylenol. Because they're not all the same.
Trust Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
For the first time ever, Red Lobster presents 30 shrimp done 4 incredible ways for just $8.95.
You've never had so many shrimp, so many ways. Shrimp that are golden fried, scampi you just must try. Shrimp baked with lots of spice and lemon peppers, oh so nice. You've never had so many shrimp at such a price.
The deluxe shrimp sampler just $8.95. Kids shrimp dinner $1.95 at Red Lobster.
We know how you love seafood.
You've always trusted Woolite to care for your sweaters. Wouldn't you love to get that same Woolite care for your rugs and for your chairs? Well, try Woolite Deep Cleaning Rug Cleaner and Woolite Upholstery Cleaner. Trust Woolite Care for rugs and chairs.
Hemorrhoids, they hurt, burn, and swell. Over the years, more doctors have recommended Anusol than Preparation H to relieve the hurting. Anusol is the word to remember for relief.
I'm Harry Smith.
And I'm Faith Daniels. Tomorrow, U.S. relations with South Africa.
Also, Newhart's Peter Scolari. And back to school in style on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.